Welcome back to the Madeline Knit Along. I'm Jenica York Carter and I'm here to show you section 4. I've begun with a couple of garter stitch ridges, same as you would have to separate pattern 3 from section 3 from section 4. And section 4 begins with a couple of rows of stockinette stitch. So I've gone ahead and knit across the right side row and purled across the wrong side row for rows 1 and 2, keeping my side stitching as we have been, and the same way we'll begin row 3, where we knit 1 and then knit into the front and the back of the second stitch to get that bias lean. We'll begin the pattern repeat now with knitting 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. Now we yarn over, we slip a stitch as if we were going to knit it, then we knit 2 stitches together, and we pass the slip stitch over before yarning over again. Let's do that again. We'll knit 1, 2, 3. Now what we are doing is we are combining the next 3 stitches into one, but we still need to keep our stitch count the same. So we yarn over, that gives us 1 stitch. We slip a stitch, knit 2 together, and pass a slip stitch over. That's now turned 3 stitches into 1. We've only made up for it with 1 yarn over, so we add the second one, and that gives us 3 stitches again, just in a slightly different configuration, which is essentially what you're doing with lace knitting. 1, 2, 3. We'll do that again. Yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, and yarn over. That takes us to the last 4 stitches on the row. We will knit the first stitch, and then to maintain our side shaping, we will knit 2 together and knit the last stitch. On the wrong side, we will start with a purl 1 and knit 1. That maintains our edge. And now we are going to purl all the stitches across except the yarn overs. The yarn overs we will knit. So that starts us here with a purl. The next stitch is a yarn over, and you can see that by the hole here. So that's your visual cue that you need to change back to knitting. Purl. The next yarn over, so we knit. And then we will purl the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Knit that yarn over, purl the next stitch, knit the yarn over, and purl the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. There's another yarn over, so we knit, then we purl, the yarn over is knit, and then we purl. And I think that at this point we can just purl all the way across. Now some of you may be more experienced lace knitters, and you may recognize this stitch that we've done here to gather those 3 stitches into one. I've written it out as slip 1 knitwise, knit 2 together, pass slip stitch over. You may also see this abbreviated as SK2P or SK2PO. It stands for the same thing. But for those who might not be as familiar with lace knitting, I wanted to spell it out. So for the next right side row, again, you knit 1, then you knit into the front and the back of the next stitch, and you will actually do 2 rows of stockinette between your lace rows. So let me go ahead and get that done off camera, and we'll come back to see how the rest of the lace progresses. I've gone ahead and done the 2 stockinette stitch rows, and you can start to see how the lace is progressing. You have an eyelet, and then you have where we gathered those 3 stitches together into one, another eyelet, and then where we knit 3 stitches across. We'll do the same pattern repeat, but we'll be starting and ending it at different stages, partly because of keeping the shaping on either side, and partly so that we can have this pattern staggered. So by the time you get to row 7, you will begin with your knit 1 stitch, knit in the front and the back of the next stitch, and this time we begin with 2 knit stitches before we start our pattern repeat. We will yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 together, and pass the slip stitch over, yarn over, and knit 3. And as I said earlier, this is sometimes called SK2P, where you will S, slip, K2, knit 2 together, P or PO, pass the slip stitch over. So this is the longhand way of writing it out in case you need it to learn it, but if you see it in a pattern that's SK2P or SK2PO, then you'll know exactly what they're doing, and you'll already be ahead of the game. You'll know how that stitch works out. So we do it once more, yarn over, we knit 1, 2, this time we knit across until we get to our last 3 stitches, we knit the last 2 together, and then we knit the last 1. On the wrong side row we do as we did before, we purl and then we knit, and then we purl every stitch except the yarn overs, and those we knit. I'll do a couple more rows and show you how the pattern appears when you have more repeats taken care of. I've gone ahead and done a few more rows so that you can start to see how the lace kind of creates a trellis-like pattern. You have your stockinette portions and your eyelet portions diagonal from one another. So it creates a nice, simple, lacy design, giving you a bit of an open section in your wrap. I hope you've enjoyed making section 3, and sorry, this is section 4. I hope you've enjoyed making section 4, and I look forward to showing you section 5 in the next segment.